How's it going, guys? Welcome back. Today I've got my long-awaited what to build guide and runes for runes, masteries, and items. So, welcome. Hope you enjoy it. At the moment, I'm climbing on the Korean server. You can see we've just hit D2, halfway to D1. It's been a lot longer of a climb on this account than my other account, but I've been experimenting a lot with runes and items, and I think I've finally hit something I'm comfortable with sharing. So. Without further ado, let's get started. So, in terms of jungle items starting, I think blue or red, you can go either. I don't think it necessarily matters which one you go. They both have their advantages. I think blue is better on autopilot if you don't want to actually think about using it. Red, though, if you're really good at power clearing, you're really good at leaving ghouls on camps, red has a disgusting ability to reset the actual damage. I don't know if you can see it, but the way red works is that if you damage someone, it gives a damage over time burn effect and it slows them. But that actually resets when you kill a large monster. So if you can use it while having ghouls kill a camp on the side, you can actually apply it twice. And it's a lot of damage. It's a lot more than you think, especially with the slow added on. It's actually, I highly recommend trying it. Blue is good because if you just walk into a bush, you get movement speed. I mean, you can path around the map really quickly. So I think you can't go wrong with either of these. In terms of first item buy, if you're new to Jungle Yorick or you are familiar with Bruiser Yorick, I suggest this build as your top Yorick build, as your Jungle Yorick build, sorry. Strikebreaker first, I think it gives you the ability to power clear, it gives you the ability to react quickly, and it gives you the ability to get in and out of exchanges. It gives a lot of stats as well. So I think it's a really good item to buy as a first item. Second, you'll go for boots. I'm leaving it at tier 1 boots because any boots works. I think resistance should have a priority though, so you should go either Ninja Tabbies or Mercs. Second item, always Spear of Shojin. This item gives so much ability haste, it's insane. You're getting 35 ability haste on your ultimate, on your spells, on everything. Right now, if you don't know, anything that says basic ability haste is actually bugged on Yorick. It works on Maiden. So Legend Haste plus Spear of Shojin both work on the Maiden, which is insane. It's so good. And third item, we go for Liandry's. You can also swap this for a different item, but I'll go back to that in a bit. If you're comfortable with Yorick Jungle, I think by far the strongest build, by far, in terms of carry potential, is a Profane Rush. Profane Hydra Rush into Liandry's, into Shojin, into Liandry's, is so disgustingly broken, it is insane. It kind of borrows a little bit out of Slog's build with the lethality. But what it does is it lets you pressure really quick. It lets you AoE the camps with a single E Profane because your damage over time will kill it all. But not only that, it lets you push the sides extremely quickly. It gives so much threat to your ghouls. More importantly, it gives ability haste as well. The difference between these two is this one gives attack speed, this one gives ability haste. 20 ability haste plus 35 from this, that's 55 already off 2 items. If you start factoring in runes, you're going to be blown away by how much CDR this build actually has. But we'll get to that when we get to runes and masteries as well. I think if you're playing top Yorick or if you're used to lethality, you can run this. But I would caution, if you do run this playstyle, you've got to understand your limits early because you're going to take a lot of damage. You're not going to survive a lot of 2v2s. Just because of the nature of not having extra health. That's where the Strikebreaker comes in with 450 extra health and full combat stats. I think most people watching this video will actually prefer this build. But I think if you're an absolute guru on Yorick Jungle and you are extremely potent at finding the trades you want, or if you're extremely good at power clearing and always finding things to do with 10 CS per minute, I think you'll actually benefit from this build. What the last 3 items is up to you. I think it doesn't really matter. I'll give some suggestions of what I think you should probably go. I like going Hollowed Radiance after Liandry's. You can also go Hollowed Radiance before Liandry's. It's up to you. I think it's a really bloody good item. I think it's insane. But I don't know how well it works into non-AP comps. The explosion effect is insane. It's so strong. And it works really well when you take into account how much bonus HP you get from this build here. But when you go profane, you don't get bonus HP. It's not as much, but you still have 3 items of HP here. So look, it's up to you. I think it's pretty good. The other thing that's really good is Cleaver. Cleaver is such a natural with this build that I think it fits in really well with this build there. I think it's really good if they have tanks. It's really good anyway. Most of the time, Cleaver actually starts paying off once they have about 80 armor. 80 armor isn't a lot. That's like level 11, level 12 amounts of stuff. So Cleaver is extremely good. You can get it early and it's a late game investment. So highly recommend Cleaver as well. What I like about this build is that you can go either Cleaver or you can go for, where is my missed item? You can go either Grudge. Both of these work, but if you go the Profane, this actually gives more penetration than Cleaver does. So a big distinction between the two. One of them is penetration, one of them is reduction. So this one only works against champions. This works against everything. This one works for your teammates. This one doesn't. And this one needs to be stacked, whereas this one doesn't. So there's pros and cons for both of them. I think Grudge is better in a maiden split scenario, plainly because it works against towers and minions. Right? The lethality and the armor pen, it all works against minions and towers. We're naturally versing objectives anyway, so it makes more sense to run Grudge than Cleaver. The reason we don't is because you're squishy as fuck. Like, you're so squishy without Cleaver. Like, you've only got 2 HP items here if you run Grudge. The reason this works now is because Grudge got the buff, and if you're running Profane, then you're actually getting 33 lethality, and then that adds another 3% penetration, which will add around about, I think you'll hit about 30% armor pen with these 2 items. So it equals Grudge. It's around about the same, I think, if my math is right. You don't have to, though. You can just run Cleaver and you can autopilot. And I'd probably suggest most players do that. But I suspect the best build for your jungle will actually end up being this, and then pairing it last with either a, where's Hollowed Radiance? With either Hollowed Radiance or wherever it is. I can't see. There you go. I suspect this is probably the best build with your jungle, but just leaving it as a side splitter. Put the maiden on the side. You don't care about her. She just pushes, and you just don't fight on the side. If you watch my last video, you'd see I emphasize a lot. You just don't fight. You let the maiden do the work. You don't do shit all. You let her do everything. I think, apart from that, if you need final items, GA is an extremely good item. It gives you a little bit of wiggle room to just accidentally die. Like, oh shit, I overstepped, I'm dead, but at least my mate is still alive for a little bit longer and I might be able to survive. We talked a lot about Static Shiv. I think if you go Hollowed Radiance, there's no place for Static Shiv. It's a good item. I just don't think it has a place when you've got such a broken item like Hollowed Radiance. And Hollowed Radiance works on every minion. Most of the time, this will only work on one or 2 per wave. It will chain, but it won't proc on every minion per wave, whereas this does. This also gives you a lot of tankiness. This gives you just raw damage. But if you actually look at it, we're playing a very ghoul-heavy, very maiden split build. In terms of PvP, this actually only gives you damage once they blow up, right? Once you kill a champion, it explodes and the chain goes off. But if you're thinking from Ghoul's perspective, they only get the AD out of this. You're only giving them 55 AD because the Ghouls don't actually proc attack speed and they don't scale off movement speed percentage. So this is not a Ghoul. This is not a Ghoul build. This is a Yorick item, and there's a very big distinction you should learn between Yorick items and Ghoul items. Yorick items are like Trinity Force. It enhances Yorick's auto attack. Iceborne Warlord, that's a Yorick item. Static Shiv is a Yorick item. A Ghoul item is something like Cleaver, where it gives, they apply the penetration, they apply the movement speed boost to you. That's a Ghoul item. You've actually got hybrid items, which is like lethality. I think lethality is the best example of a hybrid item. Yorick uses it well, but the Ghouls use it well. So it's kind of a mix of both. So I would probably suggest any of these items here to accompany this build here, and I think you would be in a pretty good spot. So that would be my suggestion. Maybe swapping that to there if you wanted to get some MR earlier. I think this is a perfectly fine build, as is this. In terms of runes and masteries, one of the reasons we go the Profane is because, where are we going? Here we go. I think this page here is probably the best you're going to get for Joey Yorick this patch right now. You can easily swap the two and go for a Conqueror primary. I think that's absolutely fine. But I would probably suggest you start with Hail Blades just to get used to how to play the champion. It gives you the best early game, but more importantly, the access to the ability haste here is nuts. So I'm just going to do some quick math for you. So remember, we said before you have 35 ability haste from Spirit of Shojin. You've got 20 from what's it called? Profane Hierarchy, right? That's 55. You've actually got 15 from Legend Haste, and then you have 31 from Ultimate Hunter. That's a total of 101 ability haste on Yorick's Maiden with 2 items and fully stacked runes. That's not including Blue Buff or Hollowed Radiance, which has an extra 10 ability haste. It's so insane how much ability haste you get this patch. It's nuts. We've never had anything like it. And it's why Yorick's Split Bush Maiden build is working so well. It's because your ult's always on a 50-second cooldown. Now, if this ever got nerfed, which I think it will, I think this will eventually get bug fixed so that your basic ability haste removes. If that's the case, if you're watching this right now and this doesn't work anymore, I would probably end up swapping this to something like that. You get a very similar effect, but instead you just scale quicker because you're running cashback. But for the moment, there's no reason you shouldn't abuse this. Any of these you can run. I think you can either run attack speed, AD, or scaling, or you can run AD scaling. It doesn't matter. It's all the same. But if you're going to run precision primary, just take all the middle and just stack it with these two. And that will be your precision primary build. I think you can run either or. I don't think it matters. I would probably suggest, though, if you're just starting out, go for the Hail Blades. It gives by far the best autopilot ability. If you run into someone in the middle of the lane, or if you run into someone in the jungle, you can just get 3 quick autos off. If you reset with Q, you actually get 4. And you're just dealing a lot of damage up front, especially if you're running the what's it called? The Profane. You do a lot of damage in early exchanges. Now, the other thing you should note about Hail Blades, though, is you have to expect that you're not going to use it past the early game. So what it is every rune you pick has a time phase that it works on. All of these will work at different stages of the game. Hail Blades is between 1 and 15 minutes. Once it hits about 15 minutes, you're not going to proc Hail Blades anymore because you're going to be playing from a distance. You're going to be chucking E's. You're going to be splitting Maiden. Maiden's going to be going off into the side lane. You're going to be power farming. Hail Blades won't help you there. Hail Blades will only help you in the jungle when you're getting nice little trades off, when you're going for grubs and they come to fight you, or you go for the dragon and they come to fight you. Most of the time, you're not going to be able to attack that much. So don't rely on Hail Blades and look at this and go, wow, he only used it 21 times. It's a garbage rune. No, it's actually extremely good that we used it 21 times. Cut down will always overperform much more than you think it does. Some games you get upwards of 2,000 damage. It's insane for a minor rune. When you start getting Leandries, this stops popping up big time. And you can see Legend Haste, you get it. So you can see that I have a lot of success with this build. It's kind of nuts. But when you run the Profane, it gives you an ability to carry like Stridebreaker doesn't. If you actually get ahead, you have games like this where you'll get yourself ahead and stay ahead. And it all goes off the item purchases. You can see what most games are like is you get one item right here and you get a short spike. You get your second item about here and you get a massive spike. And then you get your third item about here and all of a sudden you're popping off. Yorick scales off item buys. That's what this build is. This build is a hyper scaling item buy, legendary, whatever you want to call it. We rely on item passes. You'll notice all the items that we buy in this build are all give some kind of effect. So this item here gives ability haste and spell damage increase. This one here, when you deal damage, it does a burn. This one here, when you attack, it does a cleave effect. None of these, actually, except for this, none of these items that you'll normally see are actually able to get that on the components. So you don't get the spell damage increase on the components. You get a small burn, but you don't get much compared to what it is when it completes. You don't get the blow up passive when it explodes on Hollowed Radiance, and you don't get the Cleaver Armor Shred until you complete the item. So we rely on gold to actually complete the items to then be able to carry the game. So I would strongly suggest you run these ones here, and then run, sorry, my hands are working, and then run this page here. See how you go and let me know. Keep me updated because I'm going to try to put timestamps in this video, but I'm going to push out a few more videos as much as I can next few weeks. I'm actually going away for 2 weeks, so I probably won't be back for a while, but when I come back, we'll be gunning it. I want to try hit Master on Career before the season ends. So I'm very excited, but I hope you liked this one. And if you did, please let me know, and I'll catch you guys in the next video either way. Catch you guys later.